WBEV Studios with Terry Bell for today's Community Comment.
Thank you very much, Jake, and welcome everyone to Community Comment. Today we're talking about the Meta AI data center under construction on Beaver Dam's north side. It is the biggest single economic development project in the history of Beaver Dam, and one that we're told holds great promise for the region's future vitality and also raises some serious concerns about the environment and how corporations and local governments work together. Last fall, we heard from the leaders of a local group that's raising those questions and concerns. That installment of the show is on the Daily Dodge YouTube channel. Today, we're going to hear viewpoints from those who brought us the data center. They are Matt Sexton of Meta, Kylie Miller of Alliant Energy, and Trent Campbell of the Beaver Dam Area Development Corporation. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. This is usually the time in the program where I share our talk and text number, invite our audience to join in the conversation. Today, at the request of our guests, we're going to keep the conversation among us here in the studio. It's a request that we at Good Karma Brands agreed to only after much discussion and serious consideration. Our aim at WBEV News this morning is to ask honest, direct questions and get honest, direct answers. Well, let's start, as everything does begin, at the beginning. And Kylie Miller, this all started with a desire on the behalf of Beaver Dam and Alliant Energy to have a large energy consumer here in this area.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Terry. We really appreciate it, and thank you to WBEV for this opportunity. That is both true and a little bit false.
Okay.
It's really driven by the desire to grow the economy across our system and benefit our communities, and in alignment with our goals as a company to support our customers and build stronger communities. So when this site was identified and certified as the largest site in the state of Wisconsin for economic development, Alliant held true to those principles by stepping in and supporting the site development and bringing it to market effectively for the overall economic growth. At the time that happened, certainly the goal was to have any large user in the site. Since 2019, when the site was certified, of course, we've had the emergence of AI and the sudden and strong opportunity created by AI data centers, and that ultimately resulted in Meta choosing Beaver Dam for this site.
Walk me through that process as best you can. It wasn't necessarily, as you mentioned, a data center that you were looking at initially. It would have been one of any number of things. How did it go from an unknown to a known?
Well, so Alliant Energy has a strong economic development program in both Iowa and Wisconsin, the two states that we serve, and we have identified a series of target industries that are aligned with the goals of the state, align with local goals, and also take advantage of the assets of a particular location. Those could be utilities, those could be transportation infrastructure, et cetera. And we build an economic development attraction program around that. And we have professional economic developers in both states that are reaching out to industry to say, hey, what about food production? Hey, what about bakery? What it might be in this particular area. And over time, various projects emerge and we pursue each of those. And in this instance, one of the projects that came forward again was the Meta data center. And so at that point, it becomes a discussion about land use, energy, and of course, the partnership with the local community.
So at what point does it become clear, do we narrow it down that it's going to be Meta and it's going to be an AI data center?
Well, and I think this is thank you for having us.
Of course.
I think this is a good opportunity for some clarification as well. As Kylie said, pre-2020, this was a large certified site celebrated by the state and others. It was zoned by the county for major business uses. We've greatly appreciated our partnership with Alliant Energy, but this was not targeted as a data center site in those early years. Frankly, until the state went through law changes with the sales and use tax provisions, Wisconsin really wasn't ripe for this type of development. We courted all kinds of things with Alliant Energy. We got fairly far down the road with a consultant representing a food manufacturing company, different uses. The the prospective use of data center and specifically partnering with Meta didn't even take hold until the tail end of 23 and into the early months of 24 in a very gradual growing process. So there has been some confusion that this has been a data center site since 2018, 2019, just as inaccurate.
That didn't happen again until 23, 24, you say?
Correct. Our involvement began in December of 23 and was a gradual workout to see if the project had feasibility through much of 2024.
Okay. Very good. Matt Sexton, how did Beaver Dam first catch Meta's eye?
Yeah, and again, thank you so much for having us. This is, for Meta, just an incredible opportunity as we continue to put down roots here in Beaver Dam in the long term. These are multi-decade facilities for us. I've resided in a Meta data center community for over a decade now, and so I know how special these projects are. One, in how they connect the world and enable billions of people and businesses to do what they need to do, but also for the local impact. And so, Meta does not take this prospect of $1 billion of investment and multi-decade commitment lightly. It takes a really special confluence of factors. Certainly knowing the site and the energy capabilities that it had, and a partner in Alliant is helpful. The infrastructure and access to a local world-class labor force. I think the real secret sauce, though, for Meta is on that partnership piece. These are really complicated projects. These are large projects, and they cannot succeed in the short or long term without really deliberate engagement and coordination from all levels of government and community, from the municipal structure to the schools to the county to the utility to the state to federal regulations. And I think we take it for granted in the Midwest. I've lived in Iowa my entire life, but different folks playing together well for a collective goal is a little more unique than you might imagine. And so the people here in Dodge County and in Beaver Dam specifically really had all the factors we look for in spades, and it's just been an incredible project once were in the position to commit late last year. So yeah.
We're talking about the Meta AI data center in Beaver Dam. We need to take a break, but we will be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Terry Bell.
Thank you very much, Jake, and welcome back to Community Comment. We want to thank our guests for joining us today. Matt Sexton of Meta, Kylie Miller of Alliant Energy, and Trent Campbell of the Beaver Dam Area Development Corporation. We're talking about the Beaver Dam AI data center and everything. Answer some questions and concerns that people have about the data center. And gentlemen, we appreciate you coming on the show today. I want to talk a bit about non-disclosure agreements. And there was a tool that was used to help get us to where we are today. I was wondering which one of you might feel best qualified to answer the question of why NDAs are necessary for a project like this.
Well, I think that might be a two-headed answer.
Okay.
From community and from company. Let me take the first swing at it. I would preface by saying our goal on every economic development project we've worked on is to get as much information to the public as we can as quickly as possible. Now, each project we deal with, especially those of significant size and scope, have unique personalities, unique needs, including confidentiality, whether it's approval processes, the competitive nature of their industry, or other. We try to be as transparent and forthcoming as we can without harming the ability to bring a public good project in and killing opportunity. I can tell you that in this case, going back to that first segment that you had, the site was discussed for major business opportunity, was certified, was celebrated by the governor, zoned by the county. Alliant Energy went through significant conversations on a local level to try to educate and work with landowners and community. That was the first part of it, okay? I can tell you also that when we deal with projects, this isn't something unique. Confidentiality in some form, don't want to pound the table and mess up the microphone.
That's fine. Thank you.
Confidentiality in some form is commonplace, okay? Every project, again, has different needs and it looks differently. Almost every project we get from a state level or a regional level or in dealing with consultants comes in the form of code names, okay? Nothing originates with a company name, and sometimes you get fairly deep into the process before we even have that knowledge. You're dealing with general project descriptions, general values, general needs. It's the nature of the beast, okay? We deal with confidentiality as we must. NDAs are one aspect of it. Absent NDAs, companies have other requirements for confidentiality, and if you want to be involved in the process, you adhere to it. Again, always trying to get information out as quickly as we can. This case was no different. Had some unique elements in terms of the approval processes, not wanting to be presumptuous in those processes or at the local level, competitive nature, a variety of things that Matt can address. But this is not unique. Confidentiality is the norm in recruitment, business, and economic development. And the last thing I would say, this is not done in a vacuum. We have a city council that was made well aware of the negotiation portion of this process. They were given information, analyzing, asked tough questions. Our group, the Development Corporation, is a relied upon partner for the city. We are made up of entrepreneurs, business owners, some of the brightest and best business minds in the area. We have a highly capable business attorney. We have a highly respected CPA on that board. We have a former school superintendent. All of these people are lending their life experience and talents into evaluating these types of processes. The support for this project has been unanimous at all of those levels, Development Corporation, city, and that's telling because they were given a bunch of information, digested it, and came out with a very favorable view of what this project would mean for the community's future. And Matt, I'll let you discuss it from a business perspective.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the, the context of 23 and 24, and again, how complex and competitive this process can be, not just amidst our industry, but like we had talked about, a world-class industrial site, maybe it's food manufacturer, maybe someone from our industry, those are complex multi-year processes. And there are preliminary discussions, often too, for publicly traded companies that just need to be to be confidential on the front end, ultimately to increase the efficiency and speed with which the project can come to light. I can speak for Meta specifically. When we have said, like we did here in Beaver Dam on November 12th, that it is here, it is us, it is a Meta facility, this is the standard of excellence that you can expect from us. These are our initial contributions to the community, be it the deeding to Ducks Unlimited or our water restoration goals or our community action grants program. Once we make that commitment publicly in the 15-year history of our company building and operating these, we have never abandoned a project. We have never turned down a data center. We have never walked away. And really the biggest risk of that is in this really initial phase of either party maybe not feeling comfortable it's a fit. And again, we see these as multi-decade commitments, marriages, if you will, and getting a basic set of facts and understanding, one, is it right for Meta? We knew that Beaver Dam would be a perfect place for us, but is it right for the community? Is it right from a policy perspective that we're an additive part of a diversified economic picture, be it our construction or our operation site, and ultimately the success and our ability to commit to a project is so multi-layered, from a development group to a municipality to an energy agreement to a water agreement to a state tax structure, on and on. And so all of those things need to, by the end of it, have absolute certainty and finality for our company to be in a position to commit $1 billion plus in capital and decades of employees and operational expertise.
Could we have gotten to where we are today without non-disclosure agreements or shell corporations and some of these things that people have raised questions about, eroding, public trust in the people that are handling things they don't know about?
I mean, I'll just say I think that there may be a nomenclature with a shell company versus a subsidiary of the company itself. Each of our sites have a subsidiary that manages that project and is represented in the public development agreement that is tied to the infrastructure projects that we will bear at our cost in consultation with our partners in Beaver Dam. We were able to make a more redundant water system for further development while not using any wells for construction or for operation. And so, yeah, there are a lot of positive aspects to this. I mean, I think however you slice the onion, either in the beginning or the middle or the end, I know certainly if for whatever reason, if something beyond our control, some type of approval or ability for us to have that finality is taken away, that can be a huge gut punch to the community or to us or to our plans. And so, finding that balance of doing that probably, to Trent's point, I'm sure a bunch of different businesses and industries take it differently. But I mean, I think a good example is, we have a facility in Rosemount, Minnesota, and on their page they have a case study in code names, and it was Project Osprey. It sounded kind of ominous, and what is this? And it turned out at the end of the day, it was a Home Depot distribution center who, for their purposes, didn't want a northern industry peer of theirs to know that they were seriously considering a larger base of operation. And so the way these conversations are approached are always done with a community-first narrative, and we rely on our partners and expertise. And I think Trent would agree, it is a very collaborative process to make sure that all of the information is laid to bear for the decision makers, and that it ultimately, again, can reach a point of finality that we can commit to for decades.
Microsoft recently announced it's not going to use non-disclosure agreements anymore. Do you think that's going to turn the tide? Will that be the new industry standard, or is that Microsoft's choice to make?
I could just say I saw that very recently. I think in recent days, I think our folks are looking at it, and I think at a 50,000 foot level, it's fair to say economic development generally, these projects generally, for the resource allocation and stewardship, the paradigm is constantly shifting. And so what works well for certain businesses or companies, I'm not aware of any discussions or haven't seen anything from like our side, but I am for sure that as an industry we are reviewing the details of that and understanding probably jurisdictionally specific when or how to moderate our approach.
Okay. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV. We're talking about the Beaver Dam AI Data Center. We need to take a quick break for the news, but we'll be right back.
Wisconsin's station here. Again, this is WBEV, and we are powered by Daily Dodge. Here's Terry Bell.
Thank you, Jake, and welcome back to Community Comment. We're talking about the Meta AI data center in Beaver Dam with our guests on the program today, Trent Campbell of the Beaver Dam Economic Development Corporation, Matt Sexton of Meta, and Kylie Miller of Alliant Energy. And one question that gets raised a lot is about how much water the data center is going to use. And I'll just put it to you bluntly, how much water is the data center going to use?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple great basis of facts here that we can point on to. Number one, Meta has led the industry in transparently reporting the water and energy use of its facilities by facility annually in our sustainability report as audited by Ernst & Young. And those reports are the barometer for our corporate goals of matching all of the energy that we use with renewable energy on the grid, and then restoring more water than we consume globally in 2030. And so in Wisconsin, and our project here specifically, we will be restoring 100% of the water that we use. There are also different types of cooling apparatus for data centers and evaporative and all of this, but our site here will be a dry closed loop system. And so that drastically reduces the amount of water. Again, I think I mentioned, I think there were some misperceptions in the community about us draining a well or building a well or two or the aquifer or for construction or all of this. We need none of that. We were annexed into Beaver Dam so we could purchase from the municipal supply.
I've heard the term closed loop system. What is a dry closed loop system?
So it's ultimately how it's the heated liquid is chilled either with a water kind of based, almost like a swamp cooler, or with electrically powered chillers. And so when you use electrically powered, again, you need less water. And so we anticipate, well, and separately here in the state of Wisconsin, it's statute that municipalities over 10,000 report their top 10 or so water users. I don't think I brought a copy of it, but I know this year's water supply service area, we anticipate on average, including equipment, clean downs, and keep in mind we will have a full service restaurant, and that alone averages about 6,000 gallons a day. We're anticipating about 8,000 gallons on average per day, which will put us inside the top 10, but outside the top 5 in the city of Beaver Dam. And if I could, anecdotally, I'm based in Altoona. We've been building there for over a decade. It's our largest operational facility in the world, and it is an evaporative cooling process. Our economic development director confirmed to me and through media this month that we, in a town of 21,000, are not the city's #1 water user. It is a pasta manufacturer. And in the summer, we trade places with a water park that is open for 3 months. And so we are incredibly proud, not just of the stewardship on site. And an example is we are able in our data halls to essentially have them run at a temperature for our employees' safety. And that can be up to 90 degrees. And when you provide that gradient for this amount of square feet, that dramatically reduces the energy and water needed to effectively cool and manage these facilities. So from an operational perspective, we have the smartest people in the world. We have generally over 50% of our data center workforce are military veterans, subject matter experts on water, air, and electrical systems. We can use fans and outside air without using any water. And that all is separate of our global commitments and local commitments to the water restoration projects. And then that includes here specifically, we'll be deeding almost 200 acres of our project to Ducks Unlimited, and we have undergone at our own expense to date almost $2 million in restorative work and prescribed burns and eliminating invasive species like buckthorn because we plan to be here for the long term. We want generational access. We want the things that make Beaver Dam special to be available. And so it's easy for me to answer that question as a Meta representative. I don't know how easy it would be for anyone in our industry or any industry generally about the thoughtfulness, the resourcing, and the commitment to making sure that these sites are as efficient as possible and that we're additive. And to date, our global water projects are restoring more than 1.6 billion gallons of water across the globe. And so we're really excited to get that process started here. And I would remind, we are not using energy or water until a data center is built. And we are in the early phases of this construction, but we are looking forward to partnering with folks. We've already had some preliminary conversations with the Beaver Dam Lake Conservation District and the Horicon Marsh. Migratory birds in our lighting plan are all in line with with LEED standards. This will be a crown jewel for its environmental stewardship and what it enables across the world.
You say the Meta is here for the long haul. One point that gets raised a lot is that data centers have a life expectancy of about 20 years. Is that what you mean by the long haul, or are you talking about being here beyond 20 years?
I would kind of just disagree with the premise of 20 years. I'll tell you, in any given building, just like a laptop or a cell phone, the technology needs to be replaced and updated. Sometimes it's latest and greatest, sometimes it's a reliability issue, sometimes it's a reprovisioning for, there's more service for Instagram photos or 4K live stream through our wearables. And so those buildings go through what we call refreshes every 5 to 7 years. And so if you think about the community where I'm from in 2013, when they built their first building, the company had just purchased Instagram. So primarily, that building needed to support text status updates on a website and a mobile low-resolution photo upload. Here we are today, where we are on the forefront of AI and wearables and virtual reality and connecting high streams, sitting courtside at an NBA game, and we are still using that building and facility. One of our largest AI workloads are at the Altoona data center because of the way we are able to iterate and, again, be stewards of the resourcing. And as humanities, and particularly industries, daily ability to create more information. We were talking earlier, you think an industry like agriculture that used to be starting a diesel tractor and it's out 16 hours and it comes back. Now, talk to anyone at John Deere. You are operating a robot. You are operating an autonomous vehicle with cameras and sensors and drones and its soil density and its humidity. All of that is creating enterprise data that needs to be responsibly stored and accessible, and certainly from a national security perspective, domesticated. And so the need for these facilities to house American consumer and enterprise data continues to grow. And so this concept that will stop, or that, and again, I can only speak for Meta, we have never turned down one of our data centers. We have never walked away from a data center when we said it's ours. And to the contrary, we continue to expand and iterate, and with the technology, densify. Obviously, as anyone's computer your iPhone gets smaller but more capable. We're dealing with the same type of tech at scale, and so it's a really exciting and innovative place to be. It is the forefront of the 21st century economy. It is a global race and a dynamic environment to be in, and for Beaver Dam to ultimately be in the middle of billions of people and businesses connecting and conducting their daily lives is a really special thing that all of our employees carry.
Kylie, this data center is going to need a lot of power, and that's where your company comes in. How does Alliant Energy intend to provide that power without disrupting, one, the quality of life of people who live in this part of Wisconsin, and of course their electric bills?
Well, a great question. Thank you for that. So first, I would just want to speak to Alliant's commitment to customers. Recently, our executive team led the rollout of this commitment, and it just states emphatically that the customer who uses the power pays for the power. Other customers won't absorb the costs of serving these new large loads. And that's just a verbatim statement. Now, how do we serve that load? Well, Alliant has a mix of generation that includes natural gas, wind, solar. We're among the nation's largest owner-operators of wind and solar, battery storage, and some coal. Looking long-term, we're transitioning from coal to natural gas, and we plan to add more of the renewables along the way. As each new load comes on, to the system, or each new customer comes in, we have to think about and plan for that new load. And it's incremental, so new load comes on, we have to source those new generation sources. Some of that we develop ourselves, some of it we work with contractors to do that. And so we're building out that system, combining natural gas and renewables and battery storage to meet that load. And again, through all of that, we're using contract structures in our commitment to the customer that we will not spread those costs to other customers. And that commitment aligns directly with what the PSC, the regulatory body, has put forward here in Wisconsin, what they're looking for. And also it aligns with what the data center companies recently announced at the White House, when they also said we are fully committed to paying our fair share.
Mm-hmm. How about the concerns about the construction of transmission lines, eminent domain, and stray voltage? This is affecting people in adverse ways.
Well, certainly the process for bringing new transmission lines to a site are complex, right? And again, that's a regulated effort. Alliant does not own our transmission lines. That is ATC. So I feel like I should be cautious in how I speak about that issue, but we will collaborate on a daily basis with ATC, and over in Iowa it's ITC, under the supervision of the regulatory body, and we are confident in the ability to serve these loads effectively, affordably, for the benefit of all of our customers.
We're talking with our guests from the Beaver Dam Economic Development Corporation, also Meta and Alliant Energy, Matt Sexton, Kylie Miller, and Trent Campbell. We need to take one last break, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
For today's community comment, here's Terry Bell.
Thank you, Jake. We're talking about the Beaver Dam AI Data Center. And our guests today are Matt Sexton of Meta, Kylie Miller of Alliant Energy, and Trent Campbell of the Beaver Dam Area Development Corporation. Matt, you had you wanted to follow up on what Kylie had to say about.
Well, just so Kylie had mentioned this White House energy pledge, the ratepayer protection pledge. This was the way that we had always operated, but it was a great opportunity last month for our senior leadership to go to the White House and make this commitment. And it's very basic. We will pay for the full costs of our data centers' energy and water use, so they are not passed on to consumers. Zooming in to our Beaver Dam project, we are underwriting nearly $200 million of the infrastructure that we need, so that is not passed on. And additionally, which is great and I think is just so representative of the company, as our energy folks are working with Kylie's folks and trying to sort this out, the last question was, hey, we saw your hometown care fund. Is there a way we can be involved with that? And so Meta has committed $15 million to Alliant's hometown care fund to help our friends and neighbors who may need help with LIHEAP or keeping the heat on. And so this is a multifaceted and certainly well-intended and a commitment to doing just that. But Kylie may have a little more details on the right side.
Well, absolutely. So I think there's a misperception about energy and how bills really work. Utilities aren't a supply-demand kind of equation where if demand goes up, then costs go up. Instead, we have fixed costs that we're obligated to maintain: poles, wires, generation, etc. The more efficiently those fixed assets can be used, the better it is for all customers. So when we bring on a great new load like Meta that's good, efficient, we talk about things like power factor and load factor and all this stuff, but a good steady load of power, it utilizes our system more efficiently. And what that does is it puts more kilowatt hours through the wires, through those poles, and that has the potential to level and lessen the likelihood of future rate increases because we are being more efficient in our asset utilization. So that's why when we're talking to the community, what we're talking about is, in fact, large load can be beneficial to all customers. And this is not just Alliant saying this. Good research shows this. An example would be if you look across the nation, states where data centers have emerged have oftentimes seen their rates level off or lower. North Dakota is an example of that. I think they've seen a 4-cent decline. Virginia's seen a 1-cent decline. Whereas their limited growth, a place like California also has the fastest rate increases in the nation.
Trent, it's your job to bring economic development to the Beaver Dam area. It's right there in the title and the entity you work for. I was wondering if you could address some concerns about, to what extent exactly, who's going to benefit and to what extent?
Well, there's a variety of benefits that the project will yield. Let's talk about a primary one, and that's the creation of tax base, okay, and the impact that can have generationally for Beaver Dam and kind of a foundational element of its future economic health. The city's assessment contractor recently had the ability to look at actual construction plans, has more of a basis for comparable valuation, and they came back with just the improvement part of the project. Phase 1 only will likely generate in excess of $683 million of taxable value, okay? That doesn't include land. If you want to approximate, for the sake of discussion, emphasis on approximate, because land value will get added in that. You're looking at somewhere around a $700 million valuation. That yields a taxable payment annually of over $12 million, okay, that originally stays in the TID and eventually when the TID closes gets distributed to all of these taxing jurisdictions that we partner with. That's using our current tax rate. There was also a critique that I heard on different rates. When I'm communicating with the council, I'm using their actual tax rate. I want to illustrate what this project would look like long-term, post-TID, and what those economic yields are. When city financial planners are doing TID projections, they will use equalized valuations. They're taking into account other factors like the retention or distribution of school tax credits. The numbers can vary. It's not an oddity. It's by intent by the city's financial planners. These are huge numbers. They're huge numbers. I believe the city's actual levy, not counting grants and all kinds of other things, but their actual levy was between $14 and $15 million the last recorded year I had. When you start looking at this influx of new valuation, it has an incredible impact. And it takes a pretty tortured view of statistics. Math's a stubborn thing. It takes a pretty tortured view of that kind of data to come to any other conclusion, but this mass infusion of tax space is going to be hugely beneficial for taxpayers. So we're excited about that. It's a primary element of why Beaver Dam got involved with this project. And there are many others, including the relationships built with these great partners. But I think the basic math of this often gets overlooked or framed in an inappropriate way when that is a primary factor for why Beaver Dam has this interest and value that Meta can provide to the community. So I appreciate you giving an opportunity to discuss that.
Matt, you wanted to let people know how they could get in touch with you if they'd like.
Yeah, certainly. Just a quick dovetail. You know, anecdotally, we've been building and operating for 15 years. My first meeting with Mayor Mark, I said, you have license to contact any of your peers who have engaged with us in their communities for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, and we are proud and willing to stand by that. And a lot of Trent's sentiments were echoed. We are really proud of that. We feel that gives us a competitive advantage as a premier operator, and it is fundamental to what we do. Part of that is an ongoing open dialogue and further commitment to the community. We've been running around joining the Beaver Dam Chamber and working with to be a part of Beaver Fest and working with Inspire Wisconsin and all these things. We'll be having our first annual grant application. This is an annual program in Iowa now. We've had it 11 years, over $4 million in awards. All Dodge County schools and nonprofits will be eligible. More information will be coming on that. But in the meantime, we would welcome any line of inquiry from the community. For us, this may surprise your listeners, but we have a Facebook page. And it is facebook.com/Beaver Dam Data Center. We have updates on our restoration work, on our grants, and all of these things. You can contact our team directly by email at beaverdamdc@meta.com, or you can contact Mortensen directly at their webpage, which is beaverdamdatacenter.com.
Very good. An hour is a long time, and it goes by quickly. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Matt Sexton of Meta, Kylie Miller of Alliant Energy, and Trent Campbell of the Beaver Dam Area Development Corporation. Thanks again.
Thanks again for having us. Let's do it again. Thank you.
You've been listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
Hey, it's